every child must be encouraged to get as much education as he has the ability to take. We want this not only for his sake, but for the future of our nation's sake. Nothing matters more to the future of our country, not our military preparedness, for armed might is worthless if we lack the brain power to build world peace. Not our productive economy, for we cannot sustain growth without trained manpower. Not our democratic system of government, for freedom is fragile if citizens are ignorant. These are the words of Lyndon B. Johnson on the verge of the passage of the Higher Education Act, the foundation of the federal financial aid system. We're blessed to live in the United States in a time when the government has a vested interest in our higher education, regardless of our independent financial means. Most college graduates today utilize some form of federal financial aid during their college career, but that was not always the case. I'm going to share with you today a little bit about the history, the expanding opportunities, and finding a balance where we stand now with the federal financial aid system. Education was for the upper class. With the exception of a few scholarships, people were on their own to fund their education until the end of World War II. At that time, we were blessed to receive the GI Bill. Thomas Ratliff, the Associate Vice President at Indiana Wesleyan for Financial Aid, helped me understand a little bit about the foundation for this bill. We were on the verge of crisis because thousands of veterans were returning to the United States from serving overseas. At this time, they were about to be flooded with high unemployment. The GI Bill served two purposes. First, it helped avoid that unemployment by building some infrastructure, giving the nation a chance to build some infrastructure to support those veterans coming back, and also achieving a greater level of a productive workforce as those veterans came back into the workforce as trained citizens. It also showed a sustaining model, which is what a lot of lawmakers needed to see in order to advance federal financial aid. The first step in federal financial aid was the Higher Education Act of 1965. It brought about guaranteed student loans, educational opportunity grants. These programs were the beginning, but they grew from there. Higher Education Act has a reauthorization process every 4 to 6 years, but those can have extensions, especially if they're looking to do something unpopular in an election year. Those can stretch out for quite a bit longer. Through this, they have the opportunity to reassess the programs and to make modifications or changes. Higher Education Act of 1965 grew to include PLUS loans, Perkins loans, the standard subsidized and unsubsidized loans that we're most familiar with, consolidation loans, SEOG grants, and the popular Pell Grant program. Expansion and prosperity, however, have their limits, and some of these programs outgrew their britches. In time, the pendulum begins to shift back, and a balance must be found in order for programs to be sustainable. We are now finding the balance. We are administering federal financial aid. The way this works is the government puts in place a code, the law, as it were, on different regulations. Then we receive, as financial aid administrators, Dear Colleague letters that help put it into a little bit more layman's terms. What does this really mean? And then every year we receive the FAA handbook that tells us details of how to apply these new regulations. We go through program changes. You know and are familiar with the FAFSA, and that changes over time as regulations change. The government has put in place limits on Pell Grants, limits on loan aggregate loans, and additionally 150% rule, the new limit to make sure that people are progressing and graduating with degrees. Times are changing, but we still have access through federal programs that can assist us in reaching our goals. As programs change, it is important to be a smart consumer Ask questions and be aware of the implications of educational choices and your eligibility. Federal financial aid offers great benefits to the United States, and I'm hoping that learning more about the history of these programs gives you the appreciation for the role it plays in sustaining our nation. I'll close with a quote by Ben Franklin. "If man empties his purse into his head, no one can take it from him. An investment in knowledge always pays the highest return." Have a great day.